know. I love that. I feel like I know both of our experiences over a decade ago when we started this journey for both of us, nobody was talking about this kind of stuff. Like you could not buy coconut oil in a grocery store when we first started this. We were like, there was like a black market for grass-fed meat.
I was driving like 45 minutes to meet people in a parking lot to buy, like my meat and, dairy and stuff like that. Because it wasn't sold in grocery stores. You couldn't find it, and you definitely could not have it shipped to you.
No, and now it's so mainstream, and like even the doctors that we're working with understand so much more about genetics that didn't even exist 10 years ago, much less that anybody understood it, or they understand supplementation based on your genetic needs and methylation and just all these new things. So unfortunately, we do live in a world where I know, like we've both written about and talked about before, there is so much plastic and there are so many negative inputs that you're getting all the time. But now I do feel like with technology and with things like these new things, being able to control your healthcare, we can at least feel like we can do battle effectively against all these negative inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like we'll put all the links in the show notes. I think the one we both use is Samaritan Ministries. You guys can Google that. And actually, if you want to sign up and you use Heather's name, I think there's kind of like some kind of cool, like they sort of put you together based on referrals or something. There's some benefit to that, saying who you're referred by. So you can use Heather Dessinger as your referral, and then hopefully like we'll get to like be a little connected with you through that. And we'll also put links in the show notes to places you can get things like lab tests from home.
Oh yeah, because that's definitely something you can do on your own. And obviously you need people to help you sometimes interpret those. But sometimes if you know what they mean and you just want to track things over time, it can be really helpful to run those. So you have a post on what you can run at home to kind of keep tabs on your health.
Yeah, and I'll include all those links. I know there's one, if you want to do it totally from home, there's one called Everlywell now that they send you a kit. You do the lab test based on a finger prick at home and you send it back. You don't ever have to go anywhere. Beyond that, there's others that will be linked in the post that you can actually find a lab in your area and just order the labs, print out the form, go in, they draw them, and they send you the results, which that also did not exist 10 years ago when all of this started. So now you have the ability to do that, to order your own labs. Or I know if you work with a doctor, like either of the ones we work with, they can order labs for you. And they're usually so much less expensive to go through an independent lab like that versus a hospital. Or I remember probably 10 years ago now, I just wanted to get my vitamin D tested because I was pregnant. It took forever to find someone who would actually test it. And it ended up costing like $500 just for a vitamin D test. And insurance wouldn't cover it because obviously vitamin D is not important during pregnancy. It's only linked to every positive birth outcome, but
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So grateful for that.
Yeah. It's almost like you have to play this special game where you have to match the lab test with some possible diagnosis or something. And it's like, it sort of just feels like it's really hard to figure out, especially if you're dealing with something that's stressful for you. It's just, it's so much more, I don't know. It's just, it's so much better of a feeling to just be able to say, let's work toward wellness instead of like, let's try to tie all of this to the right diagnosis code so that it'll get covered. That's not anything that any person needs to be focused on when they're trying to get well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if anything, that's been just the biggest mental shift, and to be able to go to a doctor who understands that you've done research on this too, and that you're not just like making up some diagnosis, like to feel actually respected by the doctor. And like I've gone to him and been like, I think I might have this kind of issue going on based on my genetics, and this lab result came back like this. And he's like, yeah, that definitely sounds like it could line up, but let's do one other test. Or I feel like very much like I have a partner in my health versus being like just told, no, you don't have a problem, which was my experience for so many years. Or if there is a problem, this is the only solution that I'm going to allow based on insurance. There's just so many more options on the table now. And thankfully, I know we're both in places where our family doesn't get sick very often now, and our kids are really in like great places for the most part. And I'm so grateful for that. But it's also good to know that if anything does pop up, we've always got people in our corner. Well, again, all of those links will be at wellnessmama.fm in the show notes, and you can ask us follow-up questions there if we did miss anything. Also make sure to include a cost breakdown, just because it really took, I did a lot of research on that side to see if we could afford it, and it saved us so much money. So, and I'll also link to the new non-faith-based one for anybody who is interested in checking that out as well. The cool thing about that one, just a quick note, is it's based on health and wellness instead of faith. And so the screening to get in actually involves like people who care and know about health and wellness, which means typically they spend less on medical care anyway. So they're working on keeping that one very inexpensive and easy to use. Or Samaritan Ministries, you can Google that one, and that's been wonderful for both of us. And as always, we really appreciate you guys sharing your most valuable asset, which is your time with us, and just your time being here. It means so much to us, and we hope to see you again on the next Sonicast. We're going to go get some cool air now because we're drenched, but thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. If you're enjoying these interviews, would you please take 2 minutes to leave a rating or review on iTunes for me? Doing this helps more people to find the podcast, which means even more moms and families can benefit from the information. I really appreciate your time, and thanks as always for listening.